Hello, welcome. This is Anna Walker, and this is the Felt It Experience video tutorial on creating a little witch's hat. Now, this is my sample, which I created on my newly coiffed Campbell kid doll that my kid brother sent me for my birthday this year. And her head across the way is about 3 inches, and that's the size that we needed to go with. But I'm going to show you, isn't that hair fabulous? No training at all. I'm going to show you the math you need to create a hat, regardless of whether it's doll size or human size. So stick with me, we'll get this figured out, and the next step is going to be how to do the maths. Okay, so for the purposes of our doll size hat, we knew that the base needed to be about 3 inches wide, and I gave it that amount plus an extra inch. So I went 4 inches tall so that it could have enough room that you could sort of squirrel it down and scrunch it up if you wanted to. And then, you know, we'll do the brim as we go along, but this is what we want the finished bit to be. But if we cut a resist to this size, it's going to be about 60% of this size and not fit our doll anymore. So let's go through the math to figure out the size of resist that we need to create. I'm going to get my handy dandy calculator on my phone because this is the only way to do it. So we measure around a head to figure out all the way around. I will do my head here in just a moment, but going all the way around, we are at about 7 1/4 inches. We know that we need the base of our hat resist to be 3 inches. We know we want the height to be just a little taller than that, so 4 inches. Okay, so figuring out what that end size is going to be is pretty much the size of the hat that we received here. Okay, I stretched it a little bit so it's a tiny bit taller than the 4 inches, but this is our basic resist size. Now, I got that 3 inches because I went around the doll's head and it was 7 1/4 inches around, and I already knew from speaking with Gail that she needed to have a hat size that would fit a 3-inch doll head. So we went with the 3 inches, and that's where we started. So the first thing we need to do is take that 3 inches and we need to multiply it by 1.6. Why are we multiplying it by 1.6? So that we can get the number of inches wide we need at the base so that it will shrink 40% to fit that 3 inches. Okay? So we are looking at 4.8 inches. I usually round it up, so I'm going to go with 5. And let's measure my base of the resist that I have here, and sure enough it is right at 5 inches wide. Okay, now we know we want it to be 4 inches tall, so we've got 4 inches times 1.6. That gives us 6.4, and I am going to round that up to 6.5 inches. And let's measure our hat here, our resist that we used. I actually rounded up to 7 inches because I wanted a little extra length. So use that as you may, but then we know that to get a hat triangular shape, remember we're building our hat form all the way around this piece of foam laminate. We need a template that is going to be this big in order to shrink down or felt down to the size that we need for our doll hat, which is 3 inches by 4 inches. Okay, so that's how we do the math. Let's get a different piece of paper and let's measure around Anna's noggin, and let's figure out exactly what size we're going to need to fit my head should I want to make a hat for myself. I've got the 4 and the 3 inches right here. I'm just going to use this piece of foam laminate because it's handy. Just put the hat there. So I know that my head is 24 inches around. If I divide that in half, that's 12. So my base is going to need to be 12 inches. The finished bit is going to need to be 12 inches, okay? And if I'm going to make a pointy hat, I'm going to want to have it probably 15 inches tall. So those are the figures that we're starting out with, all right? When we take those figures and we use the magic 1.6 formula, we have 12 inches, which is the base that I need it to get around my big noggin. We take 12 inches times 1.6, and that means that we need to have this base be 19 inches. Is that a P or a 9? I can't tell from this. Yeah, that's a P. All right, so here we go. So we need this to be 19 inches wide at the base. The height, I want to end up at 15 inches tall, at least. So I take the 15 times 1.6, and that means that for it to finish out being 15 inches tall, I need this resist to be 24 inches tall. So those are the measurements that I use to be able to calculate how large a resist I need to create. And we're going to create it on foam laminate. So you just need to have a piece that is going to be large enough for your purposes so that you can get the 12 inches wide and the 24 inches tall if you were doing this for an Anna size hat, or a smaller piece if you are going to do the size template that we need to create a 3-inch wide by 4-inch tall doll size hat. And that is where the math is. That's the math. Now let's get to the fun.